Alright, so I'm going to hit Control Shift and create a new layer. And let's make sure we select it here. And what we'd like to do now is we have this rough sketch, but this rough sketch isn't that great for modeling because it's more of something we would like go in and start to clean up. So for example, let's start with this eye. And this is what we're constantly going to update and tweak. The front, side, and three-quarter views that we're going to put over here in a little bit are going to be more static. Now, another thing I tend to do is with my marquee tool is on the background layer here, I'll highlight this top half here, and I'll go roughly, let's say, more of a gray like that. And then I just hit Alt and Backspace, and then go to my Move tool here, or you can press V, and then I hold Alt, and as I'm moving it down, I hold Shift to snap it, and I fill that bottom half. And the reason for this is it gives my eye more of a visual break, and I can get rid of these grid lines by hitting Control and H, or going to View, and then hiding extras here. So hide extras, or just hit Control and H, or Command H on a Mac. So this helps me break up those three quadrants. And if you feel like, oh, they're still too intense or whatever, you can go with the lighter shade. It's just to sort of offset our eye or give it a break, because we'll eventually throw another layer on when we decide what our color palette is for the jacket. If we go with a lightish, maybe a dirty gray brown like that, we can go in and just start painting underneath, like the jacket and stuff. Oops. Let's make sure that nothing is selected. There we go. So we can start to paint underneath here, and it'll cover that gray anyway, and it adds a nice contrast. Okay, but let's talk more about. We're still concepting. We're creating a. And by the way I'm able to shrink my brush size down is I hold Alt, and then on the front of my nib I have two buttons. It's the front nib, and that, like, if you see me going up and down like that, or you can press the brackets on the keyboard, which are underneath the backspace key, and that'll with brush selected, you can adjust the size of your brush like that. And another thing that people often don't realize is, you see that circle? If you hit caps lock, you can go between target reticle and actual brush size. All right, so let's go in here, and on this new layer that we created, right, what I want to do is I'm going to clean up, not finalize, but clean up some of the details, and I'm going to duplicate it. So for example, the head mass here is this part here, not including the chin. So what I can do is grab my ellipse tool, and starting right here, I'm going to drag out roughly what that cranium size is, because remember, he's got like a big brain. And you notice that it filled it. Well, my fill here I want to be nothing, but I do want a stroke that's roughly black, and we can increase the scale of our stroke here, something like this. And then I'm going to go ahead and shift that up, and that's going to represent the top of the head without the hair, right? And we could, I mean, in all actuality, we could keep it that way, but we could keep it down here with the hair. But all that matters at this point is that we copy this. So I'm going to hold Alt, and as I'm dragging, click Shift. Notice it snapped it. And I'm going to copy that 3 more times out here. Here's 1, Alt, and as I'm moving it around, if I hold Shift, notice it snapped it to the same place. This is going to be my side view. I'm hold spacebar, and then Alt and Shift, and then I'm going to do a more refined. Let's try that one more time. So Alt and then Shift. Yeah, there we go. Alright, Alt, and then I click Shift to snap up, and this is going to be my 3/4, or maybe my back view, and I can treat this as my 3/4 view. For the chin, now what I want to do is get all 3 of these ellipses essentially on the same layer. So down here, I'm going to click on my background, hit Control, Shift, and N, and I'm going to hit OK. And I'm just going to hit Control E, or you can go here to merge visible, or merge down, Control E. Merge visible will merge everything together. We don't want that. That's Shift Control E. So Control E, and that, notice it got rid of that ellipse section. Control E, E, and then here. These are just going to be my construction lines. So what I'm going to do here is create another layer above this construction line, and then just find the center of my circle here. Come on, let's go ahead and hit X to reset, or D rather, and then there we go. So I'm going to click here and just hold Shift, and then what that's going to represent is the center point of my character's body. I'm going to do the same thing here, and then I'm going to do that later on. Well, if this is the back view, I can literally invert this and sketch over it, so I have that same thing. So if his chin is here and it's facing downward, we're going for more of a perspective and not orthographic, or more of an orthographic, not perspective. That means like a straight-on view. So in this view, I'm going to just roughly sketch out what I think his chin should look like from the front view, like that. And once I'm happy with that, I'm going to click here, right where the base of the chin is. I'm going to hold Shift and I'm going to draw a line across. And for my side view, I'm just going to draw a line straight down, flattening out that face. I don't know why I'm doing these hair sketches. I'm always warning my students, like, be more confident with your strokes. And here I am, like, doing the exact same. There we go. Boom. Holding Shift and clicking. And then from where the circle hits that line, I'm just going to draw a line this way. Now, we are going to round it off eventually, but we're just creating this. Now, just the basic place of where the chin is. Like if he's got a sloped in chin, we'll round that out and all that good stuff. But for now, we're just placing this. Now, I'm going to make another layer above this, Control Shift N, and I'm going to call this layer, I'm actually going to name this one Eyes. And I think, let's try that again. Eyes, there we go. Now, what I'd like to do is, on this eyes layer, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to select this layer 3, right? Or this guy here, layer 1, and I'm going to move it down here. Now, layer 1, I'm going to call thumbnail, because this isn't even like a rough sketch yet. A rough sketch is where what we're doing right now, where we go in here and we're like, you know, I'm going to rough out. I'm not committing to what the cleaned up line is. So rough sketch is like you'd go in here, you'd say, okay, I like that shape of the eye. I like this, something like this, and I like this, and just kind of rough. I don't want to completely close this, and I definitely want something like this. Now, on this thumbnail, I'm going to lock it like this, but I'm going to let's bring the opacity down just a little bit, like this. I like that, and then I'm going to lock it so I don't draw on this layer, like that. Now, what we do is a final cleanup pass on our eyes and all that good stuff later anyway. So what I do here is, with this eye selected, I hold Alt, right? Here's eye copy, which isn't showing up. It looks like I did the wrong layer. So this should be eyes, layer 5. Okay. Looks like I named, what is this then? Let's see. Did I just make a new layer? Let's see. Yeah, so I'm going to actually move it down here and then hit Control E. And the trick behind that is the layer below it when you're merging down will have that name. So what we can do here is holding V and holding Alt and then Shift. And I'm just going to drop that in place in each section, even the side view, just so I have it lined up perfectly. And there would be no eyes on the back, but like I said, I'm still on the fence whether I want to make this 3/4 or back view. All right, so there's our eye copy. Now with this, I'm actually going to just draw half the character and then duplicate it over anyway. Now, something else I can do, which is also extremely helpful, is wouldn't it be nice if I drew over here and it updated on this other side, right? So there's two kinds of rules of thumb. Some people hate the symmetry tool. I actually kind of love it, so I want to sort of show you both. So I'm going to click on the symmetry tool here, and I'm going to select vertical. And what you'll notice is over here, I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Here, let's bring that back. I'm going to hit B for brush. You can see here's my symmetry tool. You have this line, and if I draw over here, it updates according to this line. Well, it would be great if we can move this line exactly where we need it to. Well, now you can select Transform Symmetry, and I can actually move this symmetry line right here. Just kind of move that over just a little bit. Something like this. Let's squish this in. I'm holding shift to kind of move it over. The reason why I was like fiddling with it for a second is for some reason when I was holding shift, and sometimes computer error happens, it wasn't working. And we can expand it out just a little bit. There we go. Now notice if I hit B for brush, right? Come on. If I go in here to draw, and I'm like, you know what, let's go ahead and block in his eyebrow a little bit cleaner here. You can see it looks at that as the current symmetry. So that's a nifty tool, and then if you need to turn it off, you just symmetry off. You can turn that off, and there you go. Now you have the eyebrows. And so, like I said, it's great for if you're working on just kind of fleshing out this main character. You can also select half of this guy's face and build it out that way, right? Like the cleanup lines. Like his eyebrows pretty simple here and not roughed out, so I can do that. And so if I bring brush back on and I'm like, okay, I'm going to do the symmetry tool again, vertical. It takes a little bit of tweaking, kind of move it over this way. See, now it even worked without me. I guess I had to hold shift there. It can be finicky, or at least maybe my computer can be finicky. So I'm going to zoom in just a little bit here. There we go. And go ahead and press enter once you're happy with it, and B for brush, and zoom in. And now I can kind of go in here with my brush and just play with each line. I'm going to duplicate this eye over, once I'm happy with it. Like maybe I need to shift it over to the left. But it's great, right? Like you can kind of select over this. And I do want him to have kind of this sort of bulbous nose. Like I mentioned before, the eye line here, the ears are going to go down here, right? Keeping it symmetrical. My jaw, I should have done that with the symmetry tool, right? So something like this. So this is like a rough sketch that we're going to use for modeling. Now, with all of that, I can do the same thing, right? Like I need an ear here, so I'm going to turn symmetry off. And I'm just going to marquee the ear, holding V and Alt to copy it, holding Shift to snap it in place. I'm just going to drop it right over here, right behind the jawline. All right, and our jaw is going to curve up this way. Same thing with the nose. Control D to deselect that, M to marquee, V, Alt. I have it here, hold Shift, it'll snap it back to its original origin. I'm going to move it here, and now to create the nose, I'm really just going to use this front part of the nose here, so Control D. And as long as I have that base, that's all that really matters. So I'm going to hit E in here to erase. And same thing with the eyebrow. So I think you're getting the idea. So as I construct this character, I'm duplicating and shifting over those features to construct the side and then we're going to do the same thing with the 3/4 view, which we have here going on anyway. But and some stuff, like I was saying, when you transfer from 2D to 3D, when you're transforming from 2D to 3D, your 3/4 view, this wouldn't really necessarily work that well. For this particular character, it will, in the sense that we're not I should say for a realistic character, it won't necessarily work that well to catch the fine contours of the face. But for something simple like this, it's fantastic. And I have some videos on how to make realistic characters, so you'll see that in a second. All right. Another thing we can do is let's turn symmetry back on, and let's go vertical. Let's move this here. Press enter. Bring my brush back, and I'm just gonna rough out that other eye. I was gonna copy and paste it, but now I'm like, you know what? I'll lightly just kind of trace over this, and then I can darken in the other side later. I can, once I turn symmetry off, I can really clean this up. And he doesn't necessarily, because really you tend to model. Let's see, let's go this a little bit lower because he's a cute character, and then let's get his mustache in there. So yeah, I'm gonna. Well, I like the idea of him sort of having more of an Einstein mustache than a this kind of lover mustache. So what I mean by that is maybe he has more, this guy's kind of unkept, like I was telling you. So maybe he just has a big block mustache. And man, I am drawing on the eye layer. I like totally violated my rule. That's okay. Like I said, we're going to eventually trace over this for our final sketch here. Um, but, okay, let's see here. So we have I copy 3. And this is what I want to take this head shape here, this layer 3, which is these are really our construction lines. Let's name that construction line. And then I'm going to bring this down a bunch too, because it's a little overwhelming. There we go. All right, so same situation as before. This mustache, we don't want to draw on our construction lines. We want to draw on this layer, which we'll just call line work. Really, we should have a mustache layer and all that. And so this mustache will kind of eat over that lip, and then we'll do something like this. Remember, it's not finalized. We could go with mustaches that just are boxy like that. We could go with mustaches that sort of encompass the whole lip like this, right? All right, so let's keep plugging along. Now, here in our, if we look at this view here, like I said, he's hunched over. This is more of him stretched out, belly forward. So if we draw a line out like that, right, we're kind of blocking out where the belt should be. We're also blocking out where the base of the pants is. So let's go to construction line work and let's make sure that we're doing this right. So here we go, construction line work. Here's where the base of his belt is. Here's where our character's crotch is. And I'm going to do this pretty quickly because I want to get us modeling as soon as possible, like getting this into Maya as soon as the next video. So let's do this. This guy is the most important in the sense of I'm transferring this to this. Now, if his head is sort of tilted, his chin is tilted forward and back a little bit, what we want to do is on our line work layer is we want to start to, see, my brush a little smaller there. He's got this thin little neck, and it goes into this kind of dress shirt that comes around his neck like that. He's got a tie here. Maybe he does like a half Windsor knot because he learned it a long time ago. It goes into this sort of idea for a vest I have here. The vest, I'm just going to just sort of draw in that line for a second because it does come out this way. And maybe his vest forks out this way, and then I'll have one of his pieces of his shirt untucked. And notice that his vest is almost like it has 2 buttons on one side. So I'm going to hold off on that. As for the suit jacket, we talked about him having these slumped shoulders. And then the suit will come over this way, cut in. We have the jacket coming off to the side like that. We have another thing coming down like this. Let's be more confident with our lines, right? Let's try to take our own advice. Now his blazer is stitched like that, and then he just has, his arms will slope out like this. We want to kind of go with these straight lines, cut out this way, and then in. So we're going to do something like this. And then his jacket will sort of flare out this way. Maybe he has a ticket pocket, or just maybe we'll do like a professorial psychologist kind of jacket with the 2 pockets. And what we can do on the other side, maybe we just bring his shoulders up just a little bit just because his hands are coming off to the sides. And I want him to have like I was saying before, his jacket should be almost like he's swimming in it, I feel. And this is more taper cut, so maybe I'll bring this out just a little bit more and increase this pocket size. As for the legs, I'm going to hold shift, drag out a line like this, and I'm going to undo that because we should be doing that on our construction layer. Something like this. And I like the idea of him having wingtip shoes because, so I might do that in his side view where I'll draw out what actual wingtip shoes are because maybe he is trying to be a little bit cooler and all that stuff. I'm going to make his pants ill-fitting and not tailored, so more cuffed at the bottom like that. And then the hips are essentially right here, right? So he's got these small narrow hips. And so what I'm going to do is, like I was saying before, I'm going to draw them in more like a V And then we can draw the pants swooping out like that. And then he just kind of connects at the crotch, showing that he has these thin little legs. Now for the hands, we're going to just draw two spheres here, a thumb with a box, and then we're going to draw a box that represents the finger area, like this. All right. Now, my thumbnail sketch here that I locked, I can just hit V and then shift that over to the left a little bit. Maybe I should also grab, here's our construction line. So I'm going to hold Shift here, or Control, and select both of these, my thumbnail and this construction line, and then just marquee this out. And then shift that over a little bit. And we want to find that eye. Where's that eye at? There it is. So this eye, this construction line, and this thumbnail all hit M for marquee. That's this button here. V, and then just move it over to the left by hitting that arrow. It doesn't look like it grabbed it, but that's okay. We can do those individually. We can marquee this out, V for our move tool, and shift this over, just so we can see what the general shape is. Same thing with this eye. Because we do eventually want to even clean up our, like I said, we'll probably use this as a, this is just our concept sketch, right? And if the more we refine our concept sketch, the better our model will be. All right, so, or the more of our conceptual, this is where we're throwing our ideas. This is our canvas for our like ideas, and then this is where it starts to come together. All right, let's tackle the hair. I know this video is going a little bit longer, but maybe we'll finish the side view in another video, so that way you can take a break. All right, so for the hair, I'm going to go ahead and turn symmetry off. And I like the idea of his hair being uncapped. His hairline's receding. So in here, I'm going to switch it up and just sort of bring this down and over like this. His hair is going to be extremely parted this way. And then it's going to come down and swoop behind his ear. And then we're just going to terminate it above his ear like this. And then he's going to have like almost this helmet that comes down, and it's been growing a little bit longer in the back like this, so just a bunch of jagged lines. And if it helps you to see it, you can increase your brush size and just sort of fill that in just a little bit. Like that. And then I'm going to hit 50% and just fill in that front hair chunk. Like this. We're just laying out some flat grays, maybe the eyes too. And the eyebrows. And it just sort of helps us to see the, you know, our sketch here. Let's just clean this eye up a little bit. All right, so that, believe it or not, is enough for us to start modeling our flat model, our flat character from the front view. Like I said, I think what we're going to do is I'm going to jump into this in the next video, the side view. We'll knock it out, so that way you get a little bit of a break. All right. Oh, one last thing. Let's get these pockets in here, which can be done with our symmetry tool, but I don't think it's a big deal because we'll probably end up adding those pockets and maybe a zipper and texture, and the same thing with these buttons. All right, now we're officially done with this video.